Hello, everyone. I'm Major Garrett in Washington. Welcome to The Takeout. President Trump huddled with his national security team this afternoon after an abrupt departure from the G7 summit in Canada. The topic, you guessed it, Iran. On social media, the president said he knows where the supreme leader of that theocratic dictatorship is hiding. But for the time being, he wrote, the U.S. will not try to kill him. The U.S. did move warplanes into the region and reposition ships already there. These military moves prompted a somewhat angry debate on social media within the president's MAGA base about the possibility of a new war and how close Iran actually is to possessing a nuclear weapon and the means to deliver it. The question before the White House appears to be this: does it allow Israel alone to continue striking Iranian targets in the hope that it can degrade Iran's nuclear program, or does the U.S. come in with heavier bombs and bigger planes to inflict massive, possibly irrevocable damage? CBS News can report the president is considering that second option. For more on all this, I want to turn to Ed O'Keefe on the North Lawn of the White House. Ed, it's been a very hectic day at the White House. Pronouncements on social media, meetings in the Situation Room. Catch us up.
Well, first off, let's recall he got here before the sun came up, back from the G7 summit, where he took off after midnight Alberta time and arrived back having told reporters on the way back that he's not seeking a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. He wants the full end of Iran's nuclear program, and that today was going to be sort of a wait and see, let's see where things are going kind of day. And so he has spent the entire day out of the public eye ever since that interaction with reporters early this morning, meeting, as you said, with his national security team, including the vice president, the secretary of state, who doubles as the national security advisor, his top Mideast envoy, Steve Witkoff, the defense secretary, Pete Hegseth. And the big issue was, should Israel and the United States join together to take out the remainder of Iran's nuclear program, perhaps most notably the Fordow nuclear enrichment site, which is embedded inside mountains and would require 30,000-pound bunker-busting bombs dropped by B-2s to penetrate and destroy, something that only the United States can do if they want to do it that way. Whether or not he made a decision on that at this hour, just after 5 p.m. in the East, we don't know. And we haven't seen the president since he returned back to explain a decision or to talk about today's developments or any other plans. But we know that he's been meeting with his team to talk about it and, of course, abruptly left that summit. Part of the reason he left the summit, Major, and for those that followed along during the first term and know the president's ebbs and flows, he's not a big fan of that specific summit and most of these international meetings, simply because he just doesn't like all the pleasantries and having to share the stage and prefers being back here with full control. There may have also been some concerns about making sure he was able to keep on top of things should the situation get really fluid and be able to do that from here at the White House and in the Situation Room.
Ed, we don't often talk about a social media debate about something within the MAGA movement because it is usually right aligned with the White House, but not today. And there was a lot of skepticism within the MAGA world about the intelligence, about Iran, so much so that Vice President J.D. Vance had to weigh in with an extensive reply. Walk us through that.
An extensive and really extraordinary kind of defense of the president in the social space that came around 11 a.m. this morning. And he said, look, I'm seeing all this chatter, but I'm on the inside, and I can tell you that the president has been amazingly consistent over time about Iran and the fact that it should not be able to develop a nuclear weapon. In fact, 10 years and 1 day ago, when he began his first campaign for the White House, ever since, he's been consistent, Vance suggested. He raises some concerns. They may want civilian nuclear energy, but then why are they developing it in a way that would suggest they're trying to a point where they can enrich that uranium and use it in weaponry? Hasn't seen a reason why they need to do that. Notes that the IAEA rules have been violated. And then suggests, look, the president has shown remarkable restraint in keeping our military's focus on protecting our troops and protecting our citizens, which in the last week he certainly has. Vance continues, he may decide he needs to take further action to end Iranian enrichment. That decision ultimately belongs to the president. And of course, he says, people are right to be worried about foreign entanglement after the last 25 years of idiotic foreign policy. That speaks to the criticism that the president, his movement has had, especially about George W. Bush's decision to go into war in Iraq, for the Obama and Biden administrations to continue it, and for his general belief that the United States shouldn't be doing that kind of thing It may be on the verge of doing it now, and it is notable that after a few days of several key conservative commentators and others in the movement raising questions and lawmakers like Rand Paul saying he shouldn't do it, the vice president is essentially laying out the permission space for the possibility the president takes that step.
Ed O'Keefe of the North Lawn of the White House, thank you very much.